Thanks for joining us this afternoon, folks. I hope you've all had a chance to grab a bite and grab a drink, relax a little bit while we talk today about Survey123. So I just want to go over a few norms real quick. Any questions that you guys have can all be answered through the chat. Joe is going to be keeping an eye on the chat. So any questions you guys have, please throw them there.
Hey, Daniel,
yes.
The Q&A. The Q&A is open, so we can question and answer in there, and they'll see the answers to.
Oh, there it is, the Q&A. Okay, great. Thanks, Joe.
Yep, no problem.
And then we should have some time after the webinar as well. So we should be able to have some time to answer more questions that we haven't been able to get to in the time of the PowerPoint. So my name is Daniel Horn. I've been with Seiler for about 9 months now. So yeah, I guess you could say this is my first trial by fire, being that this is my first webinar with these guys. So please bear with me as I navigate this today. I've been in the geospatial division since I started there, and we focus on mapping and GIS products there. So that's where my GIS background comes in. I have my degree from the University of Colorado in geography and environmental studies with a GIS certification. And I definitely would consider myself a bit of a craft beer enthusiast. So if you guys have any suggestions, please let us know. Joe and I would be happy to hear them. And speaking of Joe, if you maybe want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Joe Madai. I am the mapping technical support. I've been with Seiler for about 5.5 years now, based out of St. Louis, background in GIS and geography. I have my GISP certification and just here to help Dan out and support him. So if you have any questions, let us know. We're here to answer them.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Seiler first. Like I said earlier, Joe and I are within the geospatial division. They also have a planetarium division, a medical division where they make microscopes for dental offices, and they also have a manufacturing division where they are partnered with the Department of Defense. So Joe and I focus on mapping and GIS products within the geospatial division as opposed to the survey side of things. So we're focusing on your centimeter level accuracy devices up to meter level accuracy. So that's going to be your R2s, your R1s, TDC 150, Geo7s, that kind of thing. And we focus on pairing those with any kind of Esri product, really. Survey123, we'll be going over that today, as well as Collector, and showing how those two can be utilized together to really get the best data that you're looking for. And we do cover 8 states. So we have offices in St. Louis, Kansas City, Indianapolis, Chicago, Omaha, Milwaukee, Des Moines, Detroit, and Lansing. So for today's agenda, we are going to kind of just cover a basic Survey123 overview. We'll go over some basics with that. I'm going to get into some real world applications. Given everything that's going on today, there's definitely been a major need for Survey123 forms, and I found a few good examples to showcase how it can be used with regards to the pandemic. We also have some 2020 updates to go over with you guys, and I'll also be talking about the Trimble R1 and how that is now compatible with Survey123. So Survey123 is a field application. Like Collector, a lot of the heavy lifting is done on the back end, typically by your GIS technician or analyst, and they're going to be doing all the pre-planning and the designing back in the office, thinking about what questions they want to be asking, if they're going to need any kind of conditional statements, anything like that. And then it's going to be pushed out to the field workers who are then going to be able to utilize that design. So what is Survey123 for ArcGIS? Well, first and foremost, it is a form-centric application as opposed to a map-centric application. So I'll probably be making this comparison a few different times throughout this presentation. And that's Survey123 kind of versus collector, where Survey123 is form centric. It's going to be prioritizing your survey questions, and it was developed to really optimize the overall form function. Whereas the map centric application like collector, that's you're mainly going to be looking at a map the whole time and collecting attributes, collecting feature classes, and various data about those features. So because of that overall form function focus, the location data does kind of take a back seat. So that kind of means that, Survey123 can still collect point, line, and polygon features. It used to actually just be a geo point, but I'll also be getting into that a little later today about how that's a newer feature that's been out, where you can now collect a point, line, or polygon feature and submit that with your survey. It can also be used as a multifaceted application. And what I mean by that is that they have three different essentially versions of the application. And the desktop application where you can download, it's called Survey123 Connect, and we'll talk a little bit about that later today as well. That is a desktop application that you can download through the Microsoft Store. And they also have the web application, which is kind of their website, often referred to as the website or the web app. And they also have the mobile application. And this is the one that you'll be seeing on your phone, probably the one that most of your field workers are going to be using with an Android or iOS device. Not only does it come in multiple forms, but you can also export location data. So, like I was saying, although it is kind of your overall, survey focused map, it's still going to allow you to export that. Assuming that you have collected point, line, or polygon features, you'll be able to export those to a shapefile or file geodatabase, which you could then bring into ArcGIS Online. You could bring that into Pro and do some further analysis and possibly gain more insights into the location aspect of your survey that you may not have otherwise been able to get. It also uses conditional statements, the famous if-then statements. So there's definitely all kinds of room for design and creativity with the addition of the conditional statements. It also has offline capabilities. So if you are in the pre-planning phase and you're going to be going out to a project area that has pretty poor cell phone reception or Wi-Fi reception, or maybe you don't have a MiFi puck with you, you can prepare your survey to be used in offline mode. So that way you're not caught off guard. You can go out into an offline area, use your survey, collect your data, and then once you get back into a serviceable area where you have cell phone service, it will automatically sync all of your survey answers up to the cloud, and it will be submitted simultaneously. And it also allows you to generate reports and analyze your data quickly. We have a survey that I'll be pushing out to you guys later, and I'll show you how we can look at the data that comes in, and you can also generate various reports on that. They also have what's called a feature report, which is kind of a more in-depth report. It does cost credits to use that feature report function, but they definitely have plenty of options for you to analyze your data. So why would you want to use Survey123? And that's because it's a very simple application to use. You don't need much GIS experience to use this application. There's definitely times where you could have, a field crew who does not have much GIS experience, where you can feel confident, as a GIS tech, pushing out that survey to them and feel confident with the results that are going to be coming back in, because it's not a very technically focused, it's a form-centric application that's meant for you to just answer survey questions as you go on through your project. It's also great for crowdsourcing data. So I've seen some examples where, a public works department pushes out a Survey123 form to the public because they may not have the manpower to go out and assess the state of all the roads with whatever in wherever their jurisdiction is. So they can push out a Survey123 form to the public, and this is going to allow them to access that, fill out a few questions, and report back to the Public Works Department. So that way they can collect and aggregate data to help them make data-informed decisions. And it also gives you options for form creation. So when you are, for example, if you're on the web application and you go to create your first survey, it's going to ask you if you want to create it with the web UI or if you want to create it through Survey123 Connect, which is the desktop application I mentioned earlier. The web UI is a much simpler, it's a much simpler way of creating a survey. It definitely does not take a lot of time. It doesn't require a lot of experience to create one. It gives you a list of options to choose from with regards to your types of questions you want to be asking. And it also allows for you to use graphics and kind of simplify things that way. Now, Survey123 Connect, on the other hand, that's a much more in-depth and advanced application that is going to allow you to create complex rules. If you need to have a lot of conditional statements in there, it's going to be great for allowing you to use that in your overall form design. And you can see I have a link here that I'm going to click on. And this is going to bring us to a story map that has been created by FEMA for showing the public how to use their Survey123 templates. And these templates are for use through Survey123 Connect. So you can see that they give you some assistance on deciding on which template you might want to use. They show you where to find it and how to log into your AGOL account. And they really do kind of just walk you through how to create a survey using their template that will be focused on your specific locale. Now I want to show you guys some examples of how Survey123 is being used. So we covered the what and the why. So let's get into the who. And I thought that the COVID-19 pandemic was a good example to showcase how Survey123 can be used to aggregate and crowdsource your data. So I found this survey. All I did was just Google Survey123 forms COVID-19, and plenty of options came up for public-facing surveys. Now you can see that this survey is from the National Police Foundation, and this is so they can evaluate how COVID-19 has been affecting local law enforcement services nationwide. And you might be wondering, well, where's the validity in that? Is there any kind of security, being that this is a public-facing survey? I was able to just find this on Google within a few seconds, and that's why they have this this OR19 identifier. That's for your validation purposes for the National Police Foundation to verify who is submitting what information. Now you might be asking yourself why or what are you going to do with this information? It's great that you can collect all this via survey, but how are they actually using it to better inform their decision-making and better inform the public? And that is where the COVID-19 Law Enforcement Impact Dashboard comes in. Now, this I was able to find. You can see that it's not directly linked in the survey here. I was able to find it just through a quick search through ArcGIS online. And this dashboard came up. This is, again, a public dashboard here. And you can see that I'm in the state of Michigan. And so I want to look at what is the exposure, the COVID-19 exposure for law enforcement within Michigan. And we are in with the top 10 with 48 exposures out of a 2,700 reported personnel. So that's 1.8% of the 2,700 reported personnel within Michigan have been at least exposed to it. And then a reported 13 of that 48 have been actually diagnosed with COVID-19. So you can go back out, you can filter out by state, you can look at the entire country. They even have some submissions coming in from Alaska as well. So let's take a look at another example that we have here. And this was, again, just found through a Google search. This is the city of McCall in Idaho and Valley County. They kind of partnered with this Survey123 form. And this is for local businesses to take a look at and respond to if they have been affected by COVID-19 in any way. So you can see that, they have their business type listed out here, your business location. You can put in your XY coordinates. You could even submit your survey. Let's say you're paired up to a Trimble R1. You can pair that up through Survey123 and really get down to sub-meter level accuracy if you wanted to submit a high accuracy level location XY. And you can see that it asks for your business name, whether or not you have Wi-Fi. And you'll see that this is the Wi-Fi is particularly important because they also have a dashboard here. And this is a very rural county within Idaho. Valley County is. It's kind of the city of McCall specifically is a kind of a tourist town. It's a resort town in Idaho. And so I can imagine that they don't have a whole lot of good cell phone service out there. So it's definitely important to have that Wi-Fi information available so you can go through and look at what businesses have Wi-Fi. You can also see what businesses have changed their hours, who's closed up, who has altered their hours, and you can really kind of search throughout the whole county here. The only thing is that just making sure that this information is public because, it's great to just have this, but what good is it doing if it's not being made known to the public? So that's also the next step you'd want to take after creating these. In the 2020 census, I also found, as we created a whole web page on how they are helping to partner and inform the Census Bureau for the 2020 census. And they are using Survey123 to make their data more accurate, to get more accurate answers, and to get better XY locations. So that way they can have the most modernized and capable census that they've had so far. And you can see that, of course, emergency management and disaster relief, going back to the FEMA templates, even the COVID-19 pandemic, that's probably getting into disaster relief as well. So there's definitely a lot of use for emergency management, disaster relief, as well as inventory and inspections with public works, your wetland delineations and that kind of thing. Okay, so this is our survey here. You can go ahead and scan this QR code with your phone or tablet. If you just zoom in on it or just focus on it, it should be able to pull up a tab for you to access our survey. It's a quick survey, just a few questions. We just want to know, if you guys are using Survey123, do you have any Trimble devices and where you're located at. Now, if you can't access the survey via the QR code, you can go ahead and enter in this URL link right here, and that will take you to the same survey.
Dan, I'm not sure if you mentioned it. All you need to do is open up your camera app on your phone or tablet, and the camera application will scan the QR code for you.
Yes, thanks, Joe. All right, so I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes to do that, and then I'm gonna go into our survey and we're gonna take a look at the results. All right, so this is just a basic overview page of what's been submitted so far. And again, this is it. This is within my ArcGIS online account. We're at the Survey123 web application. So this is the overall view of the Survey123 web app. Now, if you go to this is kind of the home page here. So these are all of our available surveys within the Seiler organization, the Seiler AGOL organization. So this is the survey that I created for the webinar. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on that. And that just brings up our first overview page. So right now we have 22 total records. First submitted on May 12th. That was my test. And the last one, of course, submitted probably a couple seconds ago. Okay, and you can see who's submitted here. If you are logged into your ArcGIS online account when you submit, you're gonna see that AGOL username show up. So my username, I submitted twice to this survey. My username is SIWixom. So everyone who submitted all these 17 surveys, they of course were not logged into ArcGIS online when they submitted, so it comes up as anonymous. And this is our design page here. So this is where you get to design your overall survey. We're not going to cover designing that real quick or for you guys today, but it was a very quick survey that I created just by choosing, single choice. You just add in a few questions, throw out whatever answers you want to be available. And then you can also add in your location to allow users to submit their location, their XY location when they submit. So now when you want to analyze the data, there's a number of different ways you can do it. This is our bar chart here, or column chart. So we have 16 yeses are using Survey123. We have 7 no's. And then you can just look at this by question. So this is our word cloud. And so these are the responses that we got for how you are using Survey123. And these are very, just one-word answers here. These are just words that people filled in when they were answering that question. And here we have the Trimble device. And this is an interesting one. We have, of course, more R1s and R2s than anything. Of interesting, a Model 2 in there. No R12s. That's no surprise. Those are brand spanking. Some geos still in there. Okay, so you can see how easily you can analyze this data. You can look at it in various charts. And then if you want to export or filter anything out, those options are available for you right here. And then you can also see where the data is coming in. If you select the data tab right up here, being that I had the location question available for you to answer, it gives you the option to submit your location, which a few people have. So we can see that we have customers coming in from way out in North Dakota too. Great, awesome. We have a very eclectic group, it looks like here. So thank you all for joining us. All right, so now that we did the survey, we talked about a few use cases and that kind of thing, and we went over the who and the what. So we'll get into what's new in 2020. I've kind of divided this up into the web application and the mobile application as far as the new features are concerned. Both of them, of course, are not supported, or they don't support Windows 7 anymore. Windows doesn't support Windows 7 anymore, so I'm sure that doesn't come as a surprise to anyone here, but just so you all know, it, of course, does not work on Windows 7. As far as the mobile application goes, it has now full compatibility with the Trimble R1. The mobile app did have full GNSS compatibility. I think that feature was pushed out about a year ago, but now with the new Trimble firmware update for the R1, it is now fully compatible with Survey123. You also get update notifications now. So if a survey has been downloaded to your device and some changes have been made to it, that you'll get notifications that you have a survey update. At which point you can go into Survey123, and they now have a update surveys page that has been added. So you can go into that new page. They actually have a button that will allow you to download multiple updates for multiple surveys all at once. So if you have multiple updates that were all pushed out at the same time, they can all be downloaded pretty quickly. And it now supports, the mobile app now supports split view. So those of you who have iOS devices that are capable of running split view, I know my iPhone 8 does not have that capability, but I know that some versions of iPads have that capability. I'm not sure about the new iPhones if they have that. Joe, if you know anything about the iPhone 11 supporting split view, go ahead and chime in. So as far as the web app is concerned, of course, does not support Windows 7. You can now edit features in the web surveys. So you can go through, and you have some polygons that have been collected, or you need to reposition an XY point, you can do that through the web application. And the XY point used to be added as what was called a geo point. They replaced that with the map question. So when you are designing your survey and you want your XY, you need to select map. And then you can select if you want to be collecting a point, line, or polygon with that question. And you can decide, you know, how that should look, and it gives you more options for your location data. You can also now edit your survey responses through the web app. So you used to not be able to do that. So if you are on the web app and you've already submitted your survey, you can go through and edit your responses online as well. You can now export your feature reports to a PDF. It used to just be that it was only a Word doc you could export feature reports to. They now have PDF functionality. And admin users, if you, of course, all organizations have at least one admin user. But if your IT department has been pretty stringent on their security rules, Esri has given you the ability to share forms and surveys publicly, regardless of your organizational security, through your AGOL account. And I think the biggest update that's come so far is they've now made an API available for web app design, so you can embed surveys into a website or a web app if you so choose. And I have a hyperlink here that kind of showcases what the Esri prototype lab, this is what they created, which is a very cool internet speed test that is based on the JavaScript API that they pushed out. So all you do is you access their web app and you run your speed test, the same way you would if you were to run your speed test, you know, through Google. You can run it through this. You can see that they have 10 megabytes per second internet speed. It's going to ask you, are you satisfied where your internet access is and the speed of it? It's going to ask you for your XY location. So you can better inform utility companies or internet companies as to where the slower and faster speeds are and where they can improve. All right, and now this is kind of the good stuff here. This is the new Trimble Firmware 5.44. So if you have a Trimble R1 with the newest firmware version 5.44, this came out in February. And Joe actually put out a very handy blog post on walking you through how to get that R1 updated to 5.44 if it hasn't been already. Something to keep in mind is that you will, if you have an iOS device, you're going to have to use the GNSS status application. That's going to be what's actually taking over your integrated receiver in your device and replacing it with the R1. And then that GNSS status app is going to be pushing out information to the Survey123 application. And the same thing goes for Android, but it's a different application. It's called the Trimble Mobile Manager application. And this is a new app for Android. It actually has replaced the GNSS status app on Android. And it works the same as the iOS version, where you just need to have Trimble Mobile Manager set up with your R1 first, and then you can open up Survey123 and go from there with your sub-meter high accuracy locations. And there's also, Trimble has a pretty handy product configuration guide here if you guys want to reference it at any time in the future. You can search by Esri products or Trimble TerraFlex. So the product we want to search for is Survey123, of course. And you can see with the R1, this is kind of the matrix here. So of course it is fully compatible with the TMM app. So that stands for Trimble Mobile Manager. And the same thing goes for iOS, where you will need the GNSS status app. That's going to allow you to configure your NEMA output, and that's what's going to allow you to connect to the R1 on iOS. Now the R2, that is also fully compatible on Android. The same workflow. You got to use Trimble Mobile Manager to get that up and running with Survey123. And the partial compatibility, it has partial compatibility on iOS. It basically is just, it's not pulling through enough GPS information to give you the full scope as opposed to the R1. Joe, if I was incorrect there, please correct me on that one. Questions? So to answer the question from Rachel, I believe that, you know, it's for one specific survey in its own PDF. I think you can select what you want to include in there, but it is based on an individual survey. And I believe that, yes, I'm pretty sure you can collect multiple points, lines, or polygons in one survey. You might need to add in multiple mapping questions. It could be that just one XY location is going to suffice for one question, so you may need to add in a second map question for that one.
So there's an anonymous or a question that came in that said, can the survey update feature services? Yeah, in a roundabout way, yes, you can. You could actually use Esri Collector and Survey123 to tie into each other, and either have existing feature services and use Survey123 to create, you know, a related table to update those feature services. You cannot update through Survey123 as long as I'm not speaking out of line here, but it's just going to create a new point with a new source of record. There's a message from Adam that says, do you know if a Survey123 form can be added to a web app builder app and use that map app for editing features? I don't know the question to that yet. So we can find the answer, find the solution, and get back to you with that answer.
Yeah, the whole web app builder and the API is it's a very new feature, so I'm sure people are still kind of figuring out how they can even what are the best practices for it and best uses, and so I'm sure it's still kind of in development in that sense.
Does anybody have any other questions that we can answer for you guys?
Dan or Joe, can you hear me?
Yes, Jay, we can hear you.
Back to one of those other questions about could you do more than one feature within? If you do see the what's new from Esri Survey123 from the developer summit, that video that's out on YouTube, he does get into, like you said, you do have to add those as different routines within the same Survey123 project. It is possible. It's around the 22 minute mark of that video. We can share that out here on the chat session, that link.
So it sounds like what's one map question is worth 1 point or 1 line or 1 polygon. And then if you want multiple features, you'll have to have multiple of those location questions.
In a roundabout way, yes, but it is possible.
Okay.
Jay, I just posted the link in the chat blog.
Okay, thank you.
And then also I'm posting another session that's going to be out there that's going to be hosted by the Great Lakes Regional Webinar Series. And they are going to do a deeper dive on Survey123. So if you want to go more down the rabbit hole with webhooks and report templates and stuff like that, I put the Survey123 link in to sign up for that webinar.
All right, well, here's our contact information if you guys are thinking of any questions in the meantime or anything like that. Feel free to take down our contact info. We have a toll-free map support phone number, and that will contact all mapping technical support in case someone's not able to answer you. It's going to ring all of us, so you'll be able to get the fastest answer in the shortest amount of time. And the same goes for our map support email. We have a new ticketing system now, so once you email mapsupport@silerinst.com, that will generate a ticket for one of us to answer for you and find a solution for your tech support problem. And we also have a mapping and GIS blog. Please follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn as well. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and close everything out here, guys. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I hope you all have a great weekend and stay healthy and stay safe out there. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks. Bye.